I'm over in Newmarket at sales.
Very good.
Give us a look at the fox.
You like it?
There he is, right?
Right, now we have everyone together. So, well, good afternoon, everybody. You're very welcome to this a view from the saddle ahead of the Leopardstown 4-day Christmas Festival. Great panel here today, this afternoon. We've Patrick Mullins, who I presume is at home in Carlow. Sean Flanagan is to join us, of course, sponsored by Savills, and also Savills winning Chase rider 2 years ago. And Davy Russell, of course, and Jamie Codd, top amateur. And both of these guys are, Jamie is at the sales in Newmarket, and Davy, you're at the sales in Gough. So you're all double jobbing a bit today. But how are we all doing, lads?
All good, Fran. Yeah.
Great. Very good. Anyway, first of all, thanks to our main sponsors of the 4 days. We have Savills, Paddy Power, the Racing Post, and Madison, of course, sponsoring all the grade ones, and numerous sponsors throughout that. Thank you for their continued support at this time. We know it's Christmas. It's a great tradition, great meeting, and one I'd love to be going. I'm sure everyone will get there next year, but we'll try and make the most of this year, lads. And at the end of this panel discussion with the lads, for our press members, we'll open the floor to any general questions for the panel. So in about 20 minutes to half an hour's time. So please be patient anyway while we get the main parts out of the way. Davy, first of all, you're there at Goffs today, and I'm sure people at home and at the panel will be wondering how you're getting on. We see you're still in your neck collar, and that's likely to stay this side of Christmas.
Yeah, getting on fine, Fran. Obviously, it's a lot easier to explain it to you because you've been in the same position as myself. But I've very little pain. I've good movement, and I'm up and doing as much exercise as I'm allowed. So it's good at the moment. Yeah, I'm heading back up now on the 17th of December up to the Mater again, just to get more X-rays and to see how we're going for the likes of the collar, what sort of date we're looking at to get it off.
Excellent. And I would say you're double jobbing, of course, at Gough sales there at the minute. That's a big interest for you, but Christmas will be a bit different for you this year. There'll be no watching the waistline, having to think about the 26th, 27th if you'd light in a Paddy Power chase. How are you going to enjoy it, obviously, with kids, a young family?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Obviously, Santa is on his way to y'all, so really looking forward to Christmas. It's a bit strange. I've never missed Christmas before in all the years I've been riding, so it's going to be a bit strange that way. And even not alone missing it, I would love to be in Leopardstown for the festival period. So, and that's not going to happen either. So it's going to be quite strange. We'll all be glued to the television, and I'll be able to experience it from the side that the public are experiencing it from.
Excellent, Davy. And Jamie, you're over Newmarket, obviously, but it's Christmas must be a meeting you really look forward to. We've seen you winning some really promising bumper horses the last month, like Sir Gerhard, Grand Paradise, and Hollow Games. Maybe they won't run there, but to have that kind of ammunition from the Gordon Elliott stable must really give you something to look forward to.
Sure. 4 days we have 4 bumpers, and look, we're glad to have them there on the big days, and so like hopefully Santi will come on the 25th, and then we'll roll into Leopardstown then.
Excellent. And just a word on Sir Gerhard, he looked very, very good in Down Royal when he won.
Yeah, no, he is. Look at his work is good. To be fair as well, he has that extra year as a bumper horse. He's 5 rising 6, so he is he has that more experience than a younger horse. So look at hopefully all goes well over the next couple of months, and I don't know. We'll see in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. And Sean, you're nice and relaxed there in your Savills outfit. Of course, you won the Savills Chase 2 years ago. You had 2 winners at the Christmas Festival last year, and must be something you and trainer Noel Mead really look forward to.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's it's a spectacle meeting, really, you know. And I suppose I was lucky enough to win the Savills Chase. It was actually before it was a Savills Chase, but I was placed in it again last year. Unfortunately, we don't have the same ammunition going forward to it this year. But look, at fingers crossed, it's a meeting that we obviously love, you know.
Excellent. And you don't have too much weight problems, I'd imagine, unless you're down to near your minimum weight. You can have a normal enough Christmas.
Yeah, no, thank God. Luckily enough, all along I've been quite good weight wise. Funny, since obviously the COVID restrictions, we don't have the use of a sauna, and I would have been probably guilty of always going in to warm up and have a bit of a shave and more or less nearly to have a chat to the lads every day when you get to the races. And with the lack of a sauna now, I'm probably 3 or 4 pounds lighter because of it. And I think a few lads are in the same boat. So it's probably a little inkling that maybe something that we probably shouldn't be doing, I suppose, is to help to not do it. And I'll try to stay away from it in the future if they do come back, you know. Excellent.
And always a meeting there where you can get a winner, just one winner to kick off the week. It's a huge thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You know, like it was early in the meeting last year, and I won the juvenile hurdle, and it took a lot of pressure off going forward for the rest of the week, you know.
Indeed it does. And Patrick, it's great to see you here today. We couldn't see you until about 100 yards from the finish on Main on Sunday, winning that John Durkin. That must have been a great thrill.
It was. He was spectacular. I'm raging that I can't watch it back, because it would have been, geez, some of the leaps he put in down the back straight. I was just lining up his neck, and he was still coming up earlier than he should have probably. But look, it was a great to get my leg over him, and he's been a super horse. I think he's ran 19 times for us and won 11 and 7 or 8 grade ones. I mean, he's a very rare type of horse.
Indeed he is, and you put yourself forward for Ride of the Year, and back at that, you're telling everybody it was one of the best rides you've given a horse.
Oh yeah, geez, if you'd seen some of the things I was doing on the back straight, it was like some of my finer stuff.
Excellent. And Patrick, everybody knows when you go racing, we see you out running the track, A, for your weight, I presume, but B, to get to know where the fresh ground is by the last race of the day. The build up for you to Christmas, it's quite intense, obviously, with the horses, but physically you got to mind yourself too.
Yeah, actually, look, it's a busy time for us. Like, there's 200 horses in the yard, and we probably get going a little bit later than a lot of other yards. So a lot of our horses are, you know, having one run before Christmas, and then you're trying to prime them for those 4 days. And from my point of view, you know, I wake up at 11.5 stone most mornings. So for the bumper weights, that's fine. And if there's a couple of spare professional rides going, I might have to watch what I'm eating. But I don't really like Christmas pudding anyway, so I'm looking.
Indeed, and of course, last Christmas was a fantastic one for you. You went to Limerick, of course, for winning Faheen, but you had 2 winners of Leopardstown, Appreciated won, and Sharjah, of course, won that grade 1 hurdle for the 2nd time running. Yeah,
it was a fantastic Christmas. I mean, the Faheen, the reception he got down there was extraordinary. The crowd in Limerick deserved huge credit. Like, just the wall of sound that hit us as we jumped the last. Usually, as a rider, you don't really hear the crowd. But by God, when he landed the back of the last, there was some roar. And Sharjah, he's won Christmas the last 2 years, so we're trying to go back for the hat trick this year, hopefully.
Indeed, and how big a thrill was that? Or then 3 or 4 days between Limerick and then finishing off that last day, winning the Madison hurdle for the 2nd year.
Sure, look, it's the stuff you dream of, and I'm very lucky, in a very lucky position to be able to sit on those type of horses. And, you know, for Rich to let me sit on the likes of Faheen and Sharjah is magic, and we have to try. But unfortunately, that's last year, so we have to try to do it all again now.
Indeed, we do, and we'll move on to that actually. And first day, of course, 26th of December, Stephen's Day or Boxing Day, as our friends in the UK tend to call it. And of the horse that we've got there to look forward to, Patrick, I'd like to start with you about Asturian Falange. What did you make of him in Punchestown and this theory that he jumped left or right throughout?
Yeah, he was very impressive. He jumps great. He came from Pat Doyle's. You know, Pat would do a fantastic job with them. When he's jumping down our strip, he's slightly to his right, but nothing terrible. He seemed to jump pretty straight all the way in Punchestown until the last 2, where he did go right when he was going a stride faster. So look, that is going to be something in the back of our mind. He obviously did it quite severely in Cheltenham. In Cheltenham, you're continually turning down the back straight. It's nearly always going left, and that probably exaggerates it. So I would imagine he's probably maybe going to go down below to Limerick. You know, that is right-handed. It's 2.5 miles, which is probably more up his street. I would think he might be going down to Limerick. Would probably be the most obvious choice for him.
Very good. And your dad has nine entries at the minute in that. Of them, Yukon Lille, of course, one in Cork, and you've likes of Unaccepted and, of course, Classical Dream and Elixir Dana have yet to run over the fences.
Yeah, Classical Dream, we've schooled him a couple of times at home. Paul is very happy with him. He seems to respect fences a bit more than he did hurdles. I'm not sure what got into him last year when he just started throwing himself at the hurdles in Punchestown and Leopardstown. But the fences, he seems to have a bit more respect for them. He'll probably go for a beginner's chase in Leopardstown, I would imagine. And then for the 2 mile grade 1 up in Leopardstown, the Racing Post, I thought Energumene was very eye-catching in Goran. He's not a horse you would have really thought was a 2 mile chaser, but the way he jumps, and Paul said it from the first day he schooled him, the way he jumps, he probably can come back and trip and be effective. He's a great name, Energumene in French. It's what they used to call the fellas back in the medieval times, the fellas who, when they were running in the battle, would run ahead of everyone else. I think it's weirdo is what it actually is, but that's where it comes from. So, but he's very clever over fences. So he's a type, even though he might not be as quick as some of the other horses, the way he jumps, he'd be very effective. Unaccepted was the same. He was electric around Tipperary. Slightly concerned that his best run last year was his first run. So hopefully this year now he's a stronger horse and he'll continue his form. And the likes of Yukon Lille, usually Willie likes to keep the mares to mares races. So we might look elsewhere for her perhaps.
Indeed, and of course, you wonder at this Racing Post novice chase with Footpad in 2018. He went on to win the Irish Arkle and the Cheltenham Arkle. Are any of these in that same bracket, or is it too early to say? Black Bow is another one I didn't mention there. Was a very good bumper horse. He was disappointing over hurdles, but again, he seems to be electric over his fences. He was an English pointer, which we've had good luck with, and as is Energumene actually. And again, he's a type, he likes to get on with it. He jumps very fluidly. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the likes of Black Bow or Unaccepted or Energumene ended up as Arkle horses, but they are going to have to step up to grade 1 form. They have to prove that they are that level in this race. Very good. Jamie, just a word on one horse, Felix Desgy, of course. You rode him on the flat in Navan. He was a tearaway at one point. He was a horse with a big engine, and he's been very good since going chasing.
Fran. I should look at Felix. He's been good all along. He was a good horse. He's a great winner over hurdles. And to be fair to him, he's transferred that to chasing. He won in Killarney as liked, and he came back to Punchestown, and I thought he put in a very good performance against Sizing Potsy and Darver Star. So it puts him in the mix for that 2 mile division. He's a very free-growing horse. Likes to he's aggressive over his fence, and but the last day, I thought he seemed to settle a good bit better in that chase. There might be a bit of a different angle to him, but look, he's a horse with a big engine, and you'd like to imagine that he's going to be very competitive in that novice division this year.
Excellent. And we'll move on to day 2, lads. And of course, fantastic day. It's a Paddy Power day. And we have the Paddy Power Steeplechase Davy. It's obviously not a grade 1, one of the great handicap chase of the calendar. Just explain how big a difficult race it is to ride in, or how much of a lottery it is. Of course, great finish last year with Roaring Bull and that commentary getting up late on.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to win it in the past, and you need a horse that can kind of that's very sure of himself. It's very difficult. It's a difficult start because it's a straight line where the 3 mile start is, and they go quite a good gallop for staying chasers. They would be to the pin of their collar up over the first couple, and everybody likes to get into that nice position. And sometimes it's hard to get your tactics right, because sometimes that really strong pace can continue for a lot of the race, or then other times it can shut down and they steady it right back once they start turning them bends into the straight. And if you're not in your position reasonably early, you can get taken out or put back into position, and you kind of just have to sit and suffer. I was lucky enough, the horse I rode for Chris Jones and Gordon was electric to jump, and everything just went according to plan. It was literally like riding in a normal handicap chase. It just went according to plan. But I've ridden it other years now, and not so nice when you don't get into that nice flowing position. So I would imagine that you need a horse that has plenty of experience, or else a novice that kind of, is well able to fight his corner. So the first couple of fences, I'm sure people kind of give out in frustration when they watch us at the start, doing a lot of jostling for position. But you won't win a race at the start, but you could lose a race at the start, So them first couple of fences can be very, very important, and you need a horse that has that has youth on his side, but also that little bit of experience that he's able to guide his own path for the first 3 or 4 fences. And after that, once you set sail and you head up past the stands, it kind of, when you have your position got at that stage, it's very hard to change it. So you're either dropped in and happy, or you're in a nice kind of a pocket seat up there to the front. Horses have made the majority of the running in that race in the past and run well. So there's no set theory to a Paddy Power. You just need a really, really good horse on the right side of the handicapper, and is a good solid jumper.
Indeed, and one horse that could fit that bill, of course, is Brace Yourself, Sean. He's entered for your Boston All Mead. He's a 16-1 chance at the moment with the sponsors. How would you rate him, or is that the plan to go there?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure exactly what the plan is with him. I was very, very impressed with his run the last day in the Porterstown. I think ground might be a little bit of a worry for him at Leopardstown. Porterstown and his previous run in a Grade 2 chase in Punchestown was all on softer ground. But he does exactly fit that bill. He was entered to run in the Tri-Town and he ended up not running. And I think it probably wasn't a bad thing. We went then and ran him in the Grade 2. It was a smaller field, and he had a kind of a more clear run at it, and he made a few little jumping errors in the Grade 2, and I think if he had have been running in the likes of the Tri-Town or a Paddy Power without the experience of a run or two, it might have just found him out. So he's gone and jumped quite well into Porterstown, and I think he was probably unlucky that he just bumped into one that had plenty in hand. But he does fit the bill, as long as the ground would have a little bit of a dig for him,
Very good. And we move on to the 110 race, which would be the Paddy's Rewards Club Steeplechase, a Grade 1 over 2 miles, 1 furlongs. Always a cracking race, likes of Fleming Star in 2015, won it, of course, memorably. And last year's won by a Plutar. And Patrick, you've got 2 very interesting entries, at least at the minute, or maybe 3. But Min, of course, and Shakon Poursois, of course, who made a very good comeback win in Cork last Sunday.
Yeah, Shakon went straight here last year and got beaten by a Plutard. We think he just blew up, and that's why I think Willie was keen to give him a run this year prior to this race. So I imagine this will be his aim. Min waited until the Dublin Racing Festival last year, and that seemed to work well for him with regards to going on to the Ryanair. So Willie usually is a creature of habit, and I imagine they'll do the similar sort of thing this year. I mean, I'd be very disappointed if, not very disappointed, but I'd be disappointed if a Plutard could beat Shakon this time. He'd have no excuse this year, having had the run in Cork. And Notebook is obviously the one you'd be wary of. He's a horse with an awful lot of talent, has won well around Leopardstown before. But look, we think the world of Shakon Poursois. We think on his day, there's very, very few horses that'll beat him. So he's come out of the race in Cork very well, and I imagine all being well between now and then we'll be rocking up here.
Excellent. And also great race, as we know. Where would the main opposition come from? You got the likes of Notebook, of course, Plutar, who got beaten on his comeback on his most recent start, but back at Leopardstown, you'd have to rate them, Davy.
Yeah, absolutely. You also have to, she's unbelievable. The filly put the kettle on, getting the £7, has the run under her belt. she definitely comes into the equation also. She's very, very talented. She's last year's Arthur winner. She made a good comeback run in Cheltenham. So she comes back into the fray as well. I'd imagine Gordon might. Oh, I'm just sorry.
You there, Davy?
Am I back? Sorry about
You're
that.
back. You're back. With
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Repeat that again. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Gordon has the likes of Chosen Mate, who was very impressive at the festival also last year, albeit in a handicap. But he's a very talented horse and jumps really, really well. Maybe this might be a step above him at this stage of his career, but I would imagine that well, if Shakan Pushwar does turn up again, he will need to keep on improving, because over the past couple of years in the 2 mile division we haven't always been that strong, but it seems to be getting stronger more so every year. Castle Grace Paddy ran well in Sandown last week. He seems to run well around Leopardstown, but I would be looking towards the likes of Put the Kettle On, who has just kept on improving and is a very, very talented filly of Henry de Bromans. And we all know Henry's horses tend to come into their own at the Christmas Festival in Leopardstown. So that would be a good omen for her. She's also getting the £7, and she's a Grade 1 winner, novice from last year. So, but at the same time, we're very impressed by Shakan Pushwar. Everything he does, he's jumping and everything. He's definitely the horse to beat.
Very good. And on to the second Grade 1 of the day, of course, Paddy Power, future champions, novice hurl. And Jamie, I want to ask you about Ballyadam. He's obviously been very, very impressive on his two hurl runs to date, winning that Grade 1. And you rode him twice and managed to get beaten on him once.
Yeah, it's happened quite a bit lately now, to be honest, Fran. But anyway, yeah, no, Ballyadam. I look at the first day in Navan, just couldn't have went any worse. Patrick actually rode Mags Mullins' heart, and he kind of rode a very, very good race in the front, and I got caught kind of in behind, and I got a bit free at certain stages, and Patrick controlled the race very well, so it just didn't go to plan. But I suppose the only thing that came out of it, the horse didn't get a hard race, and he came out of it very well, and we were lucky to be able to go to Downpatrick. And I suppose I think I said it after, I think he's the best horse I'll ever ride in Downpatrick anyway. So no, he's gone on this year. He was impressive in Downroy, and I thought he was good in Fairy House. I think there's a little bit more improvement to come. They didn't pick, and I'd say the faster they go, the better his jumping is going to be. He can be a little bit delivered, but I thought his hurdling down over the last couple of hurdles was improved. So look, there's plenty to work on, but he's a fair horse. He's got a good engine, and he's sharp, and I'd say the 2 mile division will suit him well this year. And I think he's going to improve into the spring for a bit of nicer ground. So I don't think the ground in Leopardstown will concern him. But it'll be interesting to see Noel's horse run very, very well in behind him in Fairy House as well. So I'd imagine they'll probably take each other again in that Leopardstown race.
Excellent. And Sean, just castmate, a quick word on him, of course. He's back from a long layoff. He's 2 from 3, and he was second to Ballyadam in Fairy House.
Yeah, absolutely. I was delighted with him. I actually I didn't know what to make him. Like he had a lot of very good form early on in playing. Obviously had an injury and he missed 3 years. You know, so it was very good by owners and trainer to get him back. And he won his maiden at Limerick this year. And they've gone very, very steady in that maiden in Limerick, and he's won it so comfortably. That they've gone so steady. I was kind of under the illusion that it could have been a very falsely run race because they've gone so steady, and he has a lot of flat speed, and he's kind of gone away and done it well. But then we went to Punchestown for the winners race, and he's actually really surprised me there. And then I think he's probably stepped up again to be second to Ballyadam. I was very impressed with him again. They haven't gone very quick, and he picked up and quickened away with them all the way to the line. I do think Ballyadam was very, very impressive to go away and win. We've gone so steady early. He was never going to win by a long distance. Barring he was a 5 furlong sprinter down the straight, you know. But I thought it was a good race, and I was very happy with my lad, and he's come out of the race quite well. So So I would imagine that this is probably where we'll see him again, hopefully, please God.
Excellent. And just, Patrick, you've multiple entries in that, but just appreciated, of course, your horse you know well. He won the Dublin Racing Festival last year, made a successful debut over hurdles in Cork.
Yeah, I love this horse. Again, another one that came from Pat Doyle's. He's a fine, big 16-3 strong Jeremy. I think he's even got stronger since last year, possibly. You know, he's a 6-year-old. He missed a year he got injured the first year he came to us. He won in Leopardstown twice, so he handles the track, which Leopardstown is a much drier track than a lot of the other tracks during the winter. So it's probably always the driest track in the country. But I would see his future being more over further distances rather than over 2 miles. So while he's entered here, he might not turn up. We have Blue Lord also in it, and he's a horse now who's quite impressive in Punchestown. He beat the horse that Jamie was talking about, Julie Stowaway of Mags's, that beat Ballyadam and Navan. So that's strong form. And I think there's a good bit of improvement in him. So he's the one I'm excited about in this race.
Excellent. And on to day 3, of course, that's the Christmas Hurl, 3 miles. Apple's Jade won the last 3 years. She's for sale tomorrow. Just shows you the circle of racing, if you like. But always a good hurl. But it's kind of a year, lads, where there's a bit of a gap in the stairs ranks. And Jamie, Sire de Burley, he looks like a horse that's improving, and he looks a proper contender in staying division at the minute.
Yeah, he is. He's a horse that keeps kind of surprising, to be honest. He's a very, very laboured horse at home, but he seems to have turned up and on the big day in Cheltenham the last 2 years, and he's just a horse that just goes through the motions. But I'd find polyglots, they seem to be stayers, and you know, like, this lad is an 8-year-old, but he's a horse that could fit into that staying division, and you know, he's the last day in Navan. He won as he does against Mouse's French Dynamite. So, like, he's a horse that just could surprise you, that he could step up to that level, but he won't do it, you know.
Very good. And Davy, what about Ronald Pump? He ran a superb race behind Honeysuckle, of course, and he was a fast improving horse last season.
Absolutely, yeah. Matthew Smith has done a marvellous job with him. He ran so well at the Cheltenham Festival last year as well. Got in underneath the last a little bit, and in the stairs hurdle. So you have to rank him highly. I suppose in a way this race could unearth maybe a future star, as in you have the likes of Fury Road, who was second at the festival in the novice race last year and had still a bit of furnishing to do in himself. I'd say he's come back in again this year and really turned the corner, as in his physique. He's built and looks like a chaser. He just I just felt that the trip last year might have just caught him, as in his physical strength. And we all know what Monkfish done back, his first run over fences, who beat him last year, and final exhibition. So he could be a horse, one that could still be unearthed as a good staying hurdler. You also have the likes of the old horses, as in the likes of the Storyteller, was so good in Down Royal. And also, just one that would be interested in, Patrick may tell us, is Great White Shark, who made leaps and bounds on the flat last year, and she seems to stay really well, and she's a very talented filly. She's also going to get to £7, which would bring her right into the equation on ratings alone, you know.
Indeed. Patrick, quick one, a great White Shark without allowance.
Yeah, she's an improving type of filly. She can be quite keen, but sometimes, you know, 3 mile races, you find when everyone thinks they're on stairs, they can go gallop, which would help her. Her hurdling, she might need to brush up her hurdling slightly, but she won very well in Galway in a good handicap, and she was placed in the Market Pike in Cheltenham. So she, at a big price, she's one that could run into a place, I think.
Very good. And on to the 3 o'clock cracking Grade 1 chase, the Savills Steeplechase Grade 1, a race again with a fantastic history of producing some great performances. And Sean, you won this 2 years ago on Road to Respect, and you also chased home last year, Delta Work, who does reoppose, you finished third. How do you rate this race this year, and how big an occasion was that for you to win that race?
Sure, look, it was a massive occasion for me. Obviously, it's a fantastic race. It's the best thing we're going to get, bar the race in the other Savills race in Tramore as regarding a Gold Cup trial. But you know, it's a fantastic race, and it looks it again on paper before you go any further. Like, just a fantastic field of past and winners in it. You know, like, I suppose Kenboy, looking forward, would be the one you'd have to take over. He obviously had a run in Thurles, beaten by Presenting Percy this year. Presenting Percy was having his second run, so he was probably entitled to beat him. You know, look, it all depends on what turns up on the ground. Like, a Storyteller is probably going to turn up and he's in a fantastic vein of form. I would imagine that Delta Work will probably go here. You know, it's going to be a very, very good race. I wouldn't like to put my hat on either one. I wouldn't mind putting my leg over one of them, all right, but to which one it would be, I don't know, you know, that kind of a thing. We have Snow Falcon and 2S Parmy in there. I don't know if they're going to take part. They're entered in plenty of races over the Christmas as well. So Falcon has been a flag bearer for a long time for the stable we now at home, you know, and it'd be great to see him pitch up in a race or something like this. But I just think the caliber and depth of it is just a bit beyond his reach at this stage, you know.
Indeed, and just on your entries there, Patrick, of course, you do have Kenboy and one or two others, but Mellon, of course, who's a possible stepping up in distance.
Yeah, like, Kenboy was disappointing last season. He just blew up in Thurles, ran well for a long way. The year he won, he had a real good year, and he won in Leopardstown. It was that particularly dry winter, and perhaps that's just, he needs that really dry ground to be at his best. So I'd be concerned the more rain there is, the worse for him. Mellon, I'd love to give Mellon a go over 3 miles. You know, he was good in the John Durkin, and he got tired at the end, Brian Hay said. He's also in the King George, and you know, there's the option possibly the Kilknock Grey as well. So we'll see when Willie decides that he wants to try him over 3 miles. He could wait for Dublin Racing Festival perhaps. Allaho is in it as well. I'm not convinced he really wants 3 miles. Now maybe on good ground on Leopardstown he might be okay. Himself and Manila Indo have had a lot of clashes over the years. I think it's 2-1 to Manila Indo at the moment. But for me, it's probably Manila Indo and Champ are the two. They're the two young up-and-coming horses. Champ, you know, there's only two fences in the last half mile in Leopardstown. That'll probably suit him. But Manila Indo's had 2 runs, so for me, Manila Indo is the one to beat with the runs under his belt.
Very good. And Davy, of course, just Presenting Percy, we can't let you go without talking about him. Great to see him back in the winner's enclosure since that winning that RSA, and he looks to be back on track.
Yeah, this is a hell of a race. People are going to be at the edge of their seats for this. It's something like, if the majority of these turn up, you know, it's going to be an unbelievable sight. You have the likes of Champ, Manila Indo, Sam Crow could go up to 3 miles. If the Storyteller, who was good at Down Royal, he's a real favourite in the yard. And I felt that the Storyteller, just the ground needs to be a little bit softer for him to see him at his best. But Percy, look, he never got a real run at the past 2 seasons. He seems to be an awful lot better than himself. His homework is really spectacular. His homework is very, very good. And maybe in Down Royal, he just could have felt the effects of the fall for Cheltenham might have been just still on his mind. But Gordon fitted the noseband back on him, the sheepskin noseband back on him, and little things like that would make a significant difference to him. So I think all said that he's back into a position that he could challenge in this race. But again, it's a hell of a race. Like, you've last year's Gold Cup third in Monaghan, who was just nabbed in this race last year. And we haven't even spoke about Delta Work yet. So the strength and depth to this race is really, really exciting. And for any horse racing or sports fan, this is the real race. Like, I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully Percy will put in a good round, and he might just finally get his head in front around Leopardstown. It's a slight worry that he hasn't been at his best in Leopardstown, because maybe for the fact that Patrick said it may suit Champ, there's only 2 fences in the last kind of half a mile. Presenting Percy does like jumping, and that could be a thing that may not play in his favours. He would prefer maybe more fences to aim at in the second part of the race. There's quite a lot of jumping down the back, and then once you turn off the back, it's pretty much just the 2 fences and a lot of galloping, which don't really suit him as well. But you also have Fat Gear, the Dairy's entered up there. He could be anything if he steps up, if he stays 3 miles. So really, it is a hell of a race. I'm really looking forward to it. But for me, I'd be looking at the likes of Presenting Percy, and Manella Endo then has been so impressive. This will be his stiffest task, so he will be at his best, and it'll be interesting to see which one Rachel will ride. Both are owned by Barry Maloney, so it'll be quite interesting to see which one she'll side with.
Indeed, yeah, no, fabulous race. Savills Chase to feature day 3, and on to day 4. Cracken Neville Hotels Novice Steeplechase, 3 miles. And Davy, you won it in 2019 and Battler over Dion, and of course Delta Work in 2018. But Patrick, I think I'll come to you first. Monkfish, how taken were you and happy with him on his chasing debut?
Sure, he put in a fabulous performance. Paul, from the first, like, a bit like an Urgemeen, first day Paul schooled him now, we had to tell him to stop. He wanted to keep going down and down. But no, he's a horse, he's a very tall horse, he could be 17 hands. When he came to the yard, he was very light. We didn't get him out until Punchestown of his first bumper season, because we just couldn't get him strong, get condition on him. And we ran him. It was a big field. He was very, every time there was a gap, he was backing out rather than getting into it. And we ended up a little bit far back and had to come around. And we got beaten by a good horse of Martin Bradley, maybe Longhouse Poet. And then he got beaten first time out last year as well, over hurdles. And we were scratching our head a bit, thinking maybe this isn't the horse we thought he was. But he just improved every run after that. You know, he won his maiden. He won 20 lengths down on Thurles, when you're kind of wondering, did the race fall apart? And then in Cheltenham this year, what I loved about him was when it got tight down to the last, he put his head down, went into the gap. So he's maturing. He's learning how to race. And again, this year, we're having no problem keeping condition on him. You know, he looks great. He looks good and strong. Brigitte Dorn and Ruth Dudfield do great work with him at home. 3 miles, obviously, no bother to him at all. And look, we'd be disappointed if he got beaten, but we've been disappointed before.
Indeed, and it's a cracking race. And Jamie, latest exhibition, of course, trained by Paul Nolan down your home county of Wexford. He, of course, got beaten the last day by Pencil Full of Lead, but you're blaming quite heavy ground for that defeat.
Sorry, Fran, say that again.
Latest exhibition, of course, trained by Paul Nolan down your home county, and he got beaten after winning on his chase debut. He got beaten on his last start, but Connections felt the ground was too heavy for him on that occasion.
Look at and I suppose maybe as well, maybe the first race in Punchestown, it was a competitive beginner's chase. The first day he ran, when the day he won, and it might have just left taking the edge off him. Like, it would maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks later, then he came back out into Punchestown. And to be honest as well, I think that the winner, Pencil Full of Lead, is going to be a far superior chaser. He was a horse that, in Gordon's, that we were going to go point to point with at the start. He was actually doing all the same work as Andy Dufresne, and but he got a few hold-ups. Got to run in his. I think that Pencil Full of Lead is actually an improving horse, and I think fences are bringing. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he would be able to put it up to that division as well, you know. But obviously, the form from last year, I think Monkfish to win in Cheltenham the way he did, and I would say he's going to improve from a fence as well. To me, I think he's going kind of could be a future Gold Cup winner.
Interesting, very interesting. Always a good chase. On to the last Group 1, Grade 1, I should have say, of the 4-day festival. And it is a Madison hurl, cracking 2-mile hurl. We've spoken how Patrick has won it in the last 2 years in Sharjah. And this is going to be a race where there's going to be a lot of opinions, obviously, with St. Roy and Abracadabra rematching, and of course, throw Aspire Tower and a couple of others into the mix. Davy, you're impartial in some respects, at the minute. What did you make of the Punchestown race, the Morgana?
Yeah, look, it was the Morgana kind of is that way every year. I thought San Roy was quite keen, and I was actually impressed by the way he finished off the race, to be honest. He didn't seem to have the best trips through the race. He was quite keen in Mark's hands, and Mark had very little cover because it was only the few runners. So taking all things into account, I would still be very, very happy with San Roy. I was very impressed with him throughout. Before that, obviously, what he done at the festival last year was very impressive also. Leaving the festival last year, I had him marked as definitely a champion hurdle contender. I obviously they're probably disappointed with him in Punchestown, but he was beaten by a very good horse, and I don't think he had the best of trips through the race. So in a bigger field, I feel Mark would be more comfortable riding a normal race on him. It just you might see him definitely get closer to Abracadabras, if not finish upsides him or beyond him. But again, this sphere in the past has kind of been dominated by one horse, whereas looking at it this year, you have Honeysuckle, San Roy, Abracadabras all coming through. You Sadler, who we didn't see much of last year, and we have the winner of the past 2 years in Sharjah. It's a hell of a race. We also have Aspire Tower, who finished in front of Abracadabras in Down Royal. So altogether, it's a hell of a good race. Concertista was impressive also. The filly of William Mullins is back over 2.5 and 2.5 in Ferrier. She drops back to 2 miles here. If she turns up, could be very interesting also. But it would be Honeysuckle's stiffest test so far, I think. I would be leaning towards. I would be giving San Roy definitely another shot at it in a bigger field, and maybe Mark getting an easier time through the race, if you know what I mean. So another race I'm really looking forward to. It's very hard to judge it. There's no real one standout horse because they all have little bits about them. San Roy has to settle a bit better, and all the horses in general. Beacon, you have to be impressed with Beacon Edge as well. He's not gone beyond it, and Sean will tell you more about him, but definitely a really intriguing race. I'd just be siding towards San Roy and giving him that other chance, going on what I saw at the festival last year and the way he continued through up until the Morgiana.
And when you rode Abracadabras, of course, in the Supreme, he was second to Shiskin, of course. Did you come out, Sheldon, thinking he was a champion horse in the making?
Yeah, it just didn't happen for me in Cheltenham. Well, it was happening perfect until a steering flange and the other horse collided in front of me, and I was left in front way too early. I felt if I had a lead an awful lot longer, I probably could. It may have changed the result of the race. It definitely would have helped me anyway. So going along them lines, you would say definitely he could be a champion hurdle contender. When you look at the Jigginson colours, you automatically think they're going to go chasing. So to be honest, to answer your question, no, I thought he was going to be a high class. I thought he'd be coming back for an Arkle, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's very, very competitive in a champion hurdle, and definitely very competitive. As he showed in the Morgiana, he's a very, very talented horse. He's very straightforward and, jumps really, really well. And you must remember, he's only out of novice company as well, so every run will be a bonus to him,
Indeed, and Sean, Beacon Edge ran a cracker behind Honeysuckle. Would the plan be to go to Leopardstown?
Yeah, I think so. Before he actually ran in that race at Ferryhouse, we were kind of toying with the fact that maybe he might step up again and maybe even go to the 3 mile bracket with him, But then again, he's relatively inexperienced, and he's only starting to get the hang of racing really now. And as I said to Noel, we spoke after the race, and we haven't gone quick in Ferryhouse, and Honeysuckle got to dictate. I obviously didn't want to be left in front for too long. So I was happy enough to follow her. But with the speed that we've come down the straight, and he battled all the way to the line, and he was well able to jump at that speed, we wouldn't be too disappointed with sticking over the 2 miles. It probably might be the best answer for him. And that's probably what we're going to do going forward for a while and see how he goes at that, you know.
Indeed, interesting contender. And Patrick, last question to you, of course, since you did win it the last 2 years, of course, and you'll hopefully line up in it. How has St. Rye been since Punchestown? And do you think with the likes of Aspire Tower and maybe Petit Mouchoir in it, you might get an even gallop to suit both St. Rye and Sharjah?
Yeah, look, we were very surprised with how keen he ran in Punchestown, and he gave Mark an awful time. You know, and because he was so keen, his jumping then got sloppy. And you know, Mark, he winged the third last, and he was sort of left in a situation where he could go forward and risk the horse just doing too much and having his race ran before the last, or taking back and hoping to get a run, and it just didn't work out, and that happens. You know, looking at the race, you would say you'd like to think that he'll really be able to reverse the form with Abacadabras and Jason Militant, but it's not always that simple. You know, I don't particularly think he needs a strong pace. I just think he was probably just for whatever reason he just got fresh on the day, and you know, we have David Casey riding him every day at home now, and I don't expect that to be an issue again, to be honest. It's a fascinating race. Abacadabras, obviously, after winning the last day, he's the one to we have to go and get. Aspire Tower, 4-year-olds don't have a fantastic record stepping into this open company, so for me, he has to prove it. Concertista was very impressive the last day, but again, you have to remember it was a doubly restricted race. It was mares only, and also second season of novice mares, so you know, that's another big step up. Now, I did say the same about Honeysuckle when she won that race. But I hope she does run, because then Paul will probably ride her, and that means I could get back on Sharjah. And I just see him here. He's 10-1. I think that's a huge price for a horse that loves the dry ground up there and loves that track. And you know, he got a little break after Galway, and we tried him back in the flat, and he just doesn't seem the same horse on the flat. And I think 10-1 about him is a huge price.
Excellent. That's some fantastic race we've talked about. Lads, thank you very much. There's going to be some questions coming forward from members of the press in a few minutes. But first of all, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Savills, Paddy Power, the Racing Post, and Madison Solicitors, and all our other partners who support us so vital at this time for the Leopardstown Christmas Festival. Make sure and tune in for the 4 days of racing on RT and Racing TV and across all the Leopardstown social channels. Now, I think we're ready for questions, lads. Declan, can you hear me?
Yeah, so we'll bring in Marcus Townend here. He had sent in a question there. Marcus, when you're ready. And for anybody else on the call, if you just want to raise your hand when you want to ask a question, or wave, and we'll unmute you then to ask the question. Thanks.
Hi, Marcus.
Okay, we'll bring in Mike Vince there, who has the hand raised there first. Well, Marcus is muted there, so we'll allow Mike to talk.
Mike, work away. How are you?
I'm fine. I hope you can hear me. I have unmuted this.
Perfect.
One for Patrick and one for Sean, if I may. Patrick, listening to you talk particularly about the novice chasers, is this the strongest and the most depth to the novice chasers that you can remember Willie having? Because they sound as though they are.
It's definitely the most depth I can remember. I think we might have won 10 of the first 12 beginner chases we ran horses in, you know, which is incredible. You know, like I said, Black Bow and Energumene looked like they were going to be far superior chasers than they were hurdlers. Asteer and Falange is a great one winning novice hurdler. He's gone that way. We were very disappointed with the Big Getaway. I wouldn't give up on him just yet. Janadale is another one who I think is going to be a superior chaser than a novice hurdler. So yeah, we're very excited for the novice chase. I think it's as much depth as we've ever had.
And one for Sean as well, if I may. Sean,
Yep.
a little bit about the track, if that's possible, but for obviously people who may be going to watch it this year for the first time. Is Leopardstown, people call it the fairest track in Ireland, is it, in terms of jumping?
Yeah, well, it's obviously a very, very well presented track. There's loads of jumping down the back on the chase course. And then you have only probably 2 fences in the last half mile on the chase course, and it's a lot stiffer than it might look to the naked eye. If you stand at the back of the second last fence and look to the winning post, it's a long way above you. So there is quite a stiff finish to it. But yeah, it is a quite fair track. I would have it as possibly one of the best racetracks I've probably ever ridden at as regarding fair. If you jump off and you're lucky enough to get the box seat and you have a horse that travels, you have to do something very, very silly on it to get it beat. So yeah, it's a very, very fair, big galloping track. There's no hiding places. If you're riding the best horse, generally, you can get it to where you need it to be.
I mean, for instance, 17 fences in the saddles over 3 miles is less than most 3 mile chases. You think of Cheltenham is 20. So does it place a slightly different emphasis, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like as we spoke about earlier on about Champ, like if you have a horse that maybe mightn't be the best over an obstacle when the foot is fully to the floor, absolutely, to give you the upper hand. The Cheltenham fence compared to the Leopardstown fence, the Leopardstown fence, albeit there might be a few less fences, they do take quite a bit of jumping. You don't get away with many mistakes. They're a bigger, square, solid fence, and they're a very inviting fence to jump. But at the same time, they do take a lot of jumping. There might be less, but you need that little bit more respect as well.
And with the Paddy chase and with all these big handicap hurdles that you have during the 4 days, how much does Lady Luck play a part? Because those enormous fields are not easy to navigate, are they?
No, it's a big thing, The chase course is a very, very wide track, and you can afford to give away a little bit of ground as regarding, like if you reflected on Cheltenham, if you're 3 or 4 off the rail going around Cheltenham, you're giving away a lot of ground. If you're 3 or 4 off the rail going around Leopardstown, you're not actually giving away a lot of ground. There's 2 big long straights. You have plenty of time. But if you look at a couple of those competitive 2 mile handicap hurdles, you jump off there in the corner, you jump the last, and you have 1 lap. Like if you have 20 odd runners in one of those races and you're dropped in 7th or 8th, there's a fair chance you mightn't see a hurdle. The rider mightn't see a hurdle until he gets to the second last, or even maybe possibly to the last. You've got to really trust your horse. And hope that the doors open for you when you need them to open,
Thanks, Sean, and all the best to you and to all the lads from
Thank
England.
you very much, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We'll bring in Nick Robson, and then we'll bring in Ronan Groom after that. So, Nick, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, it's a question for Davy first, if I could. Davy, just on your injury, you're saying it's you're not in any pain at the minute, but I just wondered if there was a twinge down your neck when you were watching him Violence skip round on his first couple of runs of offensive. He looked something else, doesn't he?
Hi, Nick. Yeah, no, I was quite the opposite, would you believe? It sent a shiver. I had goosebumps watching him. He's just something else to watch. Look, I'd love to have been on his back. I'd give anything to have his back, but to be on his back. But look, I would have had a churning pain in my stomach if I had been suspended or something like that. But unfortunately, in our game, injuries come, and fingers crossed I can get back on him before too long. But I just really, really enjoyed him. I'm as much a racing fan as I am a jockey. Do you know what I mean? So I have the uncanny ability to be able to enjoy watching, especially something like him. He really was brilliant.
Yeah, and are you hoping sort of end of January? That's sort of what you're looking at, hopefully.
Yeah, it's very much. I don't know. I'll have to. My hands are in it's all in the hands of the doctors and the X-rays and things. So I'm back on the 17th of December, and they'll be able to fill me in more on how my progress is going. But it's all going according to plan so far. Touch wood, they're happy the way everything is going. The fusion of my vertebrae have went well, and so it's all fingers crossed, and no set date as of yet. So it's all taking all these X-rays. You have to take X-rays every couple of weeks and things just to make sure everything is staying where it's supposed to stay. And once them things are starting to knit back together, we'll know more.
That's great. Good to hear. And if I could just ask Patrick an update on Fahim. Patrick, when are we likely to see him?
Yeah, as Willie said, he had a little setback there in, was it October time, and we're just taking our time with him very much, so he won't be out at Christmas, and we're just going to take our time. And he was in great form up until that, so we'll just have to start again. And you know, if he's showing that he's in great form, we'll look for a race then. But he won't be out at Christmas, no.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Perfect. Ronan, if you want to hop in there.
Hi, Fran, can you hear me?
I can. Ron, how are you?
Thanks, Emil. Yeah, just a quick one for Davy and then Patrick. Okay. Davy, just wanted to ask you a bit about Sam Crow, who might end up over 3 miles, if not at Christmas, maybe later on down the line. You rode him in the marsh. What do you think when he does get up to that sort of trip?
Yeah, he's a very talented horse. Look, he's not the easiest horse to keep healthy, and that seems to be his biggest problem. But obviously, it's well documented. Gordon built him his own special stable, and I would always have imagined him being a 3-miler. So he just needs to keep improving. You know, the step up from novice company to senior company is quite a large leap. So I wouldn't be too disappointed if it takes him a bit longer. You must remember he got beaten by Faheen last year and then bounced back to win at Cheltenham. So he's probably a horse that's best in the spring of the year anyway. And I feel that 3 miles, around Leopardstown will suit him on that drier ground. And I feel maybe 3 miles later on in the year, maybe not such a testing surface, would definitely, for such a big horse, he's quite light on his feet. So I think, you know, once the ground is reasonable underfoot, that I couldn't see 3 miles being a problem for him.
Thanks, Davy. And just a couple horses for Patrick, if it's all right. You mentioned Appreciated might be one to go over further. What about Fernie Hollow? Would he be one maybe for the 2 mile grade 1? Is he more of a kind of a 2 mile type?
Yeah, to me, Fernie's probably a bit quicker than Appreciated. I did manage to get him beaten at Christmas last year there, right? But yeah, for me, Appreciated would strike me more as a Ballymore horse, and Fernie possibly, you know, for the shorter trips. That'd be the way I would see them.
Cool. And then just a quick, briefly, Album photo. He's okay for his usual date in Tramore?
He'll be going down just sunny southeast there on New Year's Day. Yeah. He's booked in, all ready to go. Has the sand castles and spades and everything ready.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Ronan. We'll bring in Sean Rock, and then we'll bring in Declan after that. So, Sean, when you're ready.
How are you, lads? Just a quick one for Patrick. Just inquiring about the well-being of Elixir Daney. I know he was entered there for a beginner's chase at Navan, the one that Blackball won. Just having seen him get an entry since. Just I see he's entered for the grade 1 2 mile at Leopardstown at Christmas. I was just wondering if he's all steam ahead or how things are with him.
Yeah, he's got a small setback. So I'd say Christmas is probably unlikely. But he'd schooled very well, and we were very excited about running him. But I don't think he's going to be out at Christmas.
Right, but what do you think? Maybe for the festival in March, might he be back on course for that, or?
Possibly. We'll have to see how he goes. See how it goes, but I don't think he'll be going out at Christmas anyway.
Okay. Cheers for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. And Declan, if you want to hop in there.
Yeah, hiya lads. Just one for Patrick and then maybe one for Davy and Jamie. Patrick, if could you put in order now Willie's horses that are going to run in the Matthias hurdle, the Saint Roy, Sadlier and Sharjah, and what you know right now, and then do you think that could change come March?
The 3 champion hurdlers, is it?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Well, sure, look, Sadlier is a very, very exciting horse. I mean, he was probably going to beat Espoir Dallin in the race the day he fell. I thought Ruby hadn't gone for a stick and Mark had. He got a nasty fall, put him back. He's very fragile. We chose not to run him in the Morgiana or the Hatton's Grace. We just felt he wasn't ready enough, because we don't want to be too hard on him at home either. So it's a balancing act. So for me, he's going to be better come March, whatever he does at Christmas. Sharjah, Sharjah obviously loves Leopardstown, and last year the Champion Hurdle, I mean, it was such a big field and we dropped out. In a normal year, if there was only 7 or 8 runners, we'd have been 5 lengths closer for nothing. Would that have turned the tables with Epitons? Maybe not, but if it was a smaller field this year, I wouldn't mind another crack at her. And then, look, to be honest, San Roy looks the number 1 at the moment. I know he hasn't won a Grade 1, but he has huge potential. He's won a round Cheltenham, and I thought, for me at the moment, he could be the Champion Hurdle horse. Yeah.
Good man, thanks very much. And then just one for maybe Jamie or Davy, just on Envoy Allen. Obviously a hugely exciting horse, but for a big horse, he's quite precocious. He obviously won a champion bumper at Cheltenham. Is there actually still a lot more to come from this horse, Davy and Jamie? Is it the sky really the limit?
Yes.
As simple as that.
Yes. He's a big frame of a horse. He's very, very good, and I wouldn't even like to dream of where it stops. But it's definitely very much on the up.
And just obviously, Davy, I know kind of he was bought to be a Gold Cup horse, but he's nowhere near slow, is he? To my eye now, which would be very much untrained, I think there's more chance of him probably winning a Queen Mother Champion Chase than a Gold Cup. Where would you sit on that view?
That would be an awful long way down the line, yes. So I suppose more interesting is what race he'll run. He'd be aimed at the festival this year would probably dictate to which way he's going. I'd say the middle distance seems to be the right way, and the way the Gordon went last year. So he could well be a Ryanair horse also. So he's got so many options, and he's just very, very good. But the Gold Cup is the race that the Thompsons would like to win, so that's the race that will be first on the list anyway.
Okay, cheers, lads. Thanks very much.
I'd say he could do a flying bolt and win a couple of them in the week.
Thanks very much, Declan. If there's anybody else who has any questions, just raise your hand there. Otherwise, I think we're nearly there. Okay, brilliant. Fran, I'll hand it back over to you there.
Great, thanks, Declan. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Jamie, we'll let you get in there the cold, but you look very, very, very cold there. Newmarket. Davy, don't spend too much money in Goffs. Sean, best luck at Christmas, and Patrick, well done in the fog last Sunday. And thank you all for your time. For the press end of it, Leopardstown will be sharing the videos with you, and if you please do not post anything until after 5 p.m. today, it'd be much appreciated. And thank you all for joining in.
Thank you very much, Fran. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you all. Cheers.
Cheers.